let's start with a very basic question. So, if you're on this call and you haven't done anything with AI and you're considering it, your business, uh, you have limited technical expertise, what's the first thing you should consider when you're looking to implement AI in your organization? So, why don't we start with Melissa since you just
Sure.
spoke?
There's a ton of tools out there, and they are all still in development. So, they will change, and I think they will also adapt to your needs. So, really, when you're looking for a tool, you need to find something that's going to, kind of best fit you. You might need to try a couple different ones, because there's so many options. There could be different they're all programmed differently. So really it's about trial, testing them, finding out which works out the best for you. And then, learning how to train that specific software so that it fits your needs. And there are a ton out there. I mean, there's the OpenAI, the Chat GPT. These are ways that you can kind of you utilize these tools for research, and things like that. So I have a AI note taker. I think I see a Fireflies on here. Um, that is, those kind of tools were really where we started, dipping into AI and, being able to record meetings and have it, in a format where the notes are in, organized, and this is what you need to do for follow up, with a click. Has just, for me personally, brought
Okay.
time back in my day.
Christine, where do you find these tools, and do you have any advice on what you should consider first when adapting
Sure.
AI?
Yeah, absolutely. I always think it's best to start with, there's so many applications for AI right now. And as Melissa mentioned, right, they're growing exponentially. So to get started, it feels a little overwhelming at first. I think you need to look at picking an area of the business where you want to get started. Right? The easiest thing is to start with Google search because everything Google search is AI now, right? Like you see it in the first results. So you're going to get the bare minimum of, your exposure to AI for your business right in that space, and you're familiar with it. If you're doing it already and you don't notice, that's even easier. But figure out, to me, I think I recommend that people start with what's annoying to you. What things do you find really annoying in your day? Tedious. Why do I need to spend my time, energy, and brain power on this task? And isn't there an easier way to do it? And then just ask AI how you can do that easier.
What kind of tasks? Give us some examples. Tina, some examples.
Oh,
You're out there.
Oh, sorry. I thought someone else was speaking about the task. I was going to suggest something. I was going to go in a slightly different direction.
Sure.
Um, uh, so, uh, so one of the things that I would encourage any small company to consider is to really first look at your data and your data strategy, because that is the underlying foundation of really being able to get any type of value from AI, because data is the thing that the large language model is going to use. So I might say start first with making sure that you have a very strong foundation of data, both across your operations, so finance, HR, etc., as well as the parts of your business that are revenue generating. And I would think of every single piece of content that you have as data that your AI can consume, optimize, uh, and sort of help you drive more revenue and drive more efficiency, as well as help you get more out of your human talent, because AI is taking on uh, a lot of the more sort of rote or routine things.
Okay. And Megan, your thoughts on this? You work for an agency, so you probably deal with
Yeah,
a lot of different clients.
I think these are all really great points and themes that I've definitely heard across a lot of different client partners. The way we kind of broadly view it at Mike Worldwide is, first and foremost, how can this technology help us be better, faster, stronger, right? And that's kind of across everything at the agency, everything that we do. But then the second piece of it is more about solving a problem for marketers that we see in the world today, which is that, it's very difficult to predict how your marketing is going to be, right? Like the business, inflation, everything going on in the world, budgets are tight, right? If you have a marketing budget, you want it to be as effective as humanly possible, right? So we've actually gone out and invested in a variety of different tools that help us enable some predictability with our work, which we find differentiates us as a partner. And so it's all about predictability and precision with marketing, and that's really where we've honed in terms of tools that we want to exclusively develop as an agency. But the second piece, which is what everybody else was just talking about, is more of the better, faster, stronger piece. And that's where tools like OpenAI and Copilot and others have been fundamental to just creating efficiencies with our day-to-day work. So that's kind of broadly how we're looking at it.
Okay. So Tina sort of referenced some areas of company to sort of look at. So I'm going to ask some others, like what areas of the company should you look at first to implement AI, or should you evaluate the whole company? And Christine, do you want to jump in on that one?
Sure. I think it's really dependent on the size of your company and how much you can actually take on at one time. So, where to start? Again, I think start like figuring out the best place to start. Where do you have the most pain points? And think about it from efficiency. And I think it's important to start small because you want to get used to the concept, how the tools work, and be realistic in your expectations, but also know that AI is not a perfect model yet. So you need to take it with some thoughtfulness and not always like any advice you get from any person, right? You have to make sure that you want to trust that advice and and that it makes sense for your business. So you can't just take it at face value. So start small, scale larger, and realize that you still need the person to touch it.
Like marketing and comms, accounting, human resources, sales. Is there any specific Megan, like area that companies should dip their toe in the water with first? That's the easiest
Yeah, I
to
think
start learning how to use it.
Yeah, I mean, to start learning how to use I would say definitely look at what's already out there and available to you. I personally jumped onto OpenAI as my first, ChatGPT specifically as my first kind of on road, and I've really stuck with that as my primary kind of AI tool that I use across everything. But there's a lot available. You could look at Claude, you could look at Perplexity. I mean, they're all kind of pretty similar in what they can do. So I recommend just honestly just jumping in and asking it questions, even if it's just about your personal everyday life. Like if you like cooking and you need recipes from a specific thing for a specific event, like just practice, asking it questions and getting answers, and you'll get used to how it works. And then all of a sudden you can kind of translate that into your day to day, right? Like draft it. Here's an email I need to construct to a client. This is what I needed to say. And then boom, you have exactly what you need. From there, once you have the fundamentals down and you're used to kind of like this muscle memory of actually, leveraging this technology in your day to day, then you can start to dip into more advanced stuff. And I would say, there's things you can do, like you can build custom bots for very specific things that you're trying to do, problems you're trying to solve. It's a little bit more of an advanced thing, but it can be really cool and really interesting. By way of example, we at the agency we do a lot of support for executives and their LinkedIn presence, so big CEOs, CMOs, etc. And what we do is we create custom ChatGPT bots and we load it with all the public information that a C-suite level person has put out there in the world. So it has all of their points of view on a variety of different complex topics, right? And then we train it on their tone of voice and the way that they write. And then all of a sudden we can start populating a whole library of LinkedIn content for them. And it not only makes us faster, right? But it also just eliminates all the back and forth we would normally need to do with that CEO, with their chief of staff, with, all of the work involved in that. And we're able to get a really great draft over to them to review that just eliminates a ton of back and forth. So that's kind of a little bit more of an advanced thing, but it's something that's getting easier and easier to stand up and set up. I don't know if anybody else on the panel has done that, but these types of solutions can be really interesting to play around with.
Tina, do you want to expand on that? Oh, you're on mute.
Oh, I'm very sorry. Can you say a little bit more, Kevin, on where you want me to expand?
The areas of the company, you started to talk about that before, like marketing and comms, accounting, human resources, sales.
Sure.
If you're getting started, where's a good place to start within the company, or do you just look at the whole organization?
Yeah, so I would really look at it through the lens of, where can you get the highest degree of cost savings and efficiency on, yeah, where can you get the highest degree of cost savings and efficiency so that those become dollars that you can reinvest in the revenue generating parts of your business. So where I might start is, rather than picking, saying, I'm going to go after HR, I'm going to go after finance and see where my efficiencies are. I might say, what are your end-to-end processes that feel the most broken, the most manual, the most time consuming, the most prone for error, where you've got a lot of human intervention that might not be necessary, and then say to yourself, like, how could I rethink this process with either, total automation or some form of, AI with human in the middle, which, is, you kind of think about that as the way that many of us are starting to use the commercial tools. So, you can ask a commercial tool a question, you know, give it like 10 different PDFs and say, analyze this and turn it into a spreadsheet. It does it for you in 30 seconds. That's the sort of thing that could take a human 8 hours. So, so I would really look at it through the lens of what are your most painful end-to-end processes that when you think about what they're costing you in terms of soft dollars, e.g., like time, people time, or hard dollars, like where can you eliminate, simplify, and then automate to generate hard dollar savings?
Okay, Melissa, do you have any thoughts on this? You're on mute also.
Sorry. Yes. So I think that there's so many ways that anyone from the president of a company down to a salesperson or a marketing person can use AI to simplify some of their tasks that they do. So even one of our tools that we have, it's called AI Sales Rep. So we're able to when people are looking at your content or they come to your site, we're able to identify them, and then we have a tool where based on what they're viewing, how much time they're spending on it, emails would go out to this individual. So to keep them engaged, remind them to come back. And for a salesperson, that takes a huge chunk of busy work away from them, and they can focus on the more low-hanging fruit, more, higher level tasks that are going to get them to closer to, closing a deal rather than doing so much busy work. So, really it's tailored to, what your tasks are. And my advice is, make sure before you go out into public or you have an AI sales rep representing your company that it is fully trained. So there are ways to test it where you can look at emails that would be sent, and then that's part of the training process for that particular thing. Same thing with chatbots. You have to make sure that you are giving them the right information. So it might be your website, it might be a link to your social pages, it might be other content that is going to be important and relevant and relevant. So that's the nice thing about AI is that it takes the guesswork out of answering right if somebody wants information about something that you have.
I think
Okay.
that goes back a little bit to what Tina said at the beginning to make sure your your data's clean and know what you're feeding into it. Because if
Exactly.
you're offering that as a representation of your business, or even to make decisions for your business or predictive models, your data
Right.
has to be right
And you
first.
also have to tell it that certain things might not mean what they're thinking. So you have to basically say, please do not use these words or this kind of because it's a robot. It's going to do, sometimes words have multiple meanings. So
Now, there's a lot of when getting started in a company, and if there's a buzz that we're going to start using AI, sometimes employees hear that and they go, "Ooh, does this mean I'm going to be replaced by an AI bot one day?" So, how do you get started, and how do you communicate with the employees what you're doing and what you're trying to accomplish with AI without making them fear for their jobs, or maybe the end goal is for some jobs to be eliminated. But how do you start with the employee communication? So, who wants to start with that one?
I'm happy to jump in there a little bit.
Thanks, Megan.
All right.
Yep.
From our perspective, like broadly, here's my perspective on this. When the internet came out, right, a bazillion years ago, everybody was afraid the internet would steal everybody's jobs. It was literally the exact same fear. And it did the exact opposite. It grew our economy, right? Because it created all kinds of new businesses, right? Yes, it got rid of some legacy ones, but it created Amazon as we know it today and other things, right? And I think AI is going to do the exact same thing. It's going to get rid of what's kind of rudimentary, and it's going to create a whole new economy of jobs and opportunities. And I think if you look at your own organization that way, right? So, okay, yes, like AI is going to replace some things, some sort of human tasks, but you have to encourage your staff to reimagine what the work is, right? And to really dive into these tools and learn them and be educated and chase opportunities that intersect between your company and AI. And I think that's the way it should be positioned at a company. So my point is, yes, it will replace some jobs, but it will create new ones.
Okay. Anybody else?
Yeah, so just to build on that a bit, I totally agree. I think AI will not only create new jobs, it will also create more interesting jobs, right? So the promise of AI is that AI is an unlock for humans to operate at a higher level of altitude and strategic capability and do things that only humans are able to do. I think what is very different about AI from past technology shifts, like from past seismic technology shifts, is that there is no real value cap on AI. The machine can teach itself. And that is a new level of technology innovation. And so, what that means for humans and what that means for organizations that are leading humans is that uh, there's an opportunity and a need to be continuously reskilling, upskilling, looking for ways to innovate in ways that only humans can. And and I think the narrative for your employees is that is actually really exciting. Like that's an opportunity to have more impact for your customers, like whoever you serve that generates money for your business, uh, that is an opportunity. I think there's another reality though, that we will need fewer people to do those things. And that is just, a truth for any company that fully embraces AI.
Okay. Anybody else have any thoughts on that?
I do.
I put a link in the chat. There's a blog post I kind of wrote about AI tools for marketing, friend or foe. And it probably needs to be updated already because it was written in January, but because AI has evolved. But we just, I kind of, one of the things I say in the article is what's internal versus in like external use of AI. So you can use it, for your daily tasks, things like research and things like that. But then when you're, a lot of times we've had situations where we've brought on clients and they say they are writing blog posts with AI. And that was probably last July. There was a Google update, a big Google update where thousands of websites were de-indexed because AI was detected on their content. So, so be careful what you put out there. Really, don't use it to write content. Use it to guide maybe your process. But human written content is so important, especially in this day and age.
Well, actually, so it leads to my next question about risks. Are there any risks with using AI, and especially with how do you protect your company information from being out there? What should you put out there? What should you not put out there? So, Megan, do you want to start with that one?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. There are risks. I mean, we work on behalf of a bunch of different clients for which they do not want their information out in the public, right? So, when we first, trained our staff and came up with employee handbooks, et cetera, to really kind of govern, but not limit, but govern how people are using this technology. What we did is we rolled out the enterprise version of ChatGPT to every single employee, which makes sure that the information that we are putting into it is not shared with the larger model. So making sure you take those types of steps is critical. Usually an IT lead or a head of technology would be able to navigate those sort of things, but I'm sure there's also all kinds of consultants out there that can help guide you. But at a basic level, that's what we did to start. And then for the more enterprise tools that we're working on, obviously those are all sitting in walled gardens that we fully control. So not sharing your information with the outside LLM is an important step to take.
Okay. Christine, you're a health organization. I'm sure there's a lot of data protection within your group.
Highly regulated industries, lots of data protection. I've talked a lot about this because you have to know what's right for your industry and your organization, where your regulations are, and what your data sharing limitations are. So in something like healthcare, everybody knows about HIPAA, right? You can't share any personal health or private health information. So everything has to be self-contained within the organization, and we need to have additional layers of agreements on top of that to make sure that none of that information is being used for for other models, for any other organizations. Nothing's going anywhere. So you need to look at that for your organization, and if you don't have a barrier in place to protect your data in current state, and you still want to get started with these tools, really recommend not using any of the free public ones, because even if you opt to not share your data, which you can opt to not share your data with the larger model system, it does learn from everything that's put in there. And if it's, everything else, if it's free, you don't know, maybe today it doesn't share the data, but someday it might. Not really sure what's going to happen there. So just to try to avoid that. At Inspire, we use Copilot internally, so we do have a protected environment for that. And while I'm on this topic too, I think it's also important to realize a little bit different on the people approach also, because I think the impact of a person isn't really when you're face to face with somebody. Your business has that intrinsic value, and all of your people have that value that they bring to everyone they interact with as a viewpoint of your business. And that personal touch is something that AI is not able to take away. It can augment it, it can make it better, it can make people sound more empathetic. Great for service recovery, great for efficiency. I mean, even something like in the hospitals, we can use AI to take notes for a physician, so they don't have to manually type it in after they talk to you. That lets somebody be face to face with you as a patient while you're having a conversation and really being fully present without having to, manage typing notes at the same time or after the visit. And things like that can save hours and hours of work.
Tina, risk?
I think the point that was just made is spot on, in terms of, there are certain things that you will only ever want humans to do. Some of the things that I think about in terms of risks are, particularly if you're dealing with any type of sensitive HR data or patients. I mean, anything that has any degree of sensitivity or even not. I think governance is really important of AI. Thinking about AI ethics, really important. So we work with clients who often say things like, "We don't have any AI at all." But I'm like, "But if you're using Microsoft Copilot, you have AI." So I think really just being mindful, like if you are using standard desktop tools like Microsoft Office or Google, or you have an iPhone, your employees are using AI and they are using generative AI. So therefore that requires some degree of governance in terms of, is it being correctly used? Is confidential information going into these large language models? You know, if you're using a free commercial tool, they are consuming your data. So I would think about things like that.
Okay. Does anybody else have any thoughts on this topic before we move on to another one? If not, then we'll move on to another topic. So getting employees involved, reskilling, retraining, whatever you want to call it. How do you pick your tool? How do you train your employees to use this AI tool and AI in general? So Melissa, do you want to get us going on that one?
Sure. So could you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
Yeah, if you choose an AI tool and you have to teach your employees how to use it, how do you train your employees? How to reskill them or?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that training is required because you're obviously going to be utilizing it for some of their tasks. So I think that sometimes your employees might be afraid of it. They're not used to something that's, not sure how to use it. And I think that sometimes with AI, you can get into rabbit holes. So I think it's like really talking to them about what task it's going to solve, and specific ways to use it. Again, like Christine mentioned, there are things, there's data that needs to be protected, that could be sensitive. It could be with your client's data. In the role of marketing, sometimes, we're trying to support sales. So we might be working on activities that provide lead generation. So, with that becomes some responsibility. So, we're looking at maybe analytics of, subscribers to email, people, that have signed up to receive information. In order to segment audiences, you have to see that data. You have to look at information about them that's going to distinguish them from different audiences. So, these are sensitive things. So, one of the things that, we're really talking about training employees. You do need to train them correctly, but also you do need to invest in protections like cyber insurance. So, these are, and you can't get cyber insurance, or if you do, if you go to file a claim and you don't have there's certain things that need to be implemented for each machine that is under your organization. Really, and really invest in something like that, and then really employ the best practices for
Okay.
that tool.
So Megan, you advise your clients to use AI. How do you recommend they train the employees to use it?
Yeah. Look, I think I'll just
Do
give
you
you.
bring in an outside person? I mean, 'cause smaller companies can't have like a head of AI, a lot of them. So how
Yeah,
do
of
you?
course. I think, there's all kinds of AI enablement consultants that you can definitely bring in to help guide you. If you do have agency partners, they should be helping guide you. I'll say just from the perspective of our own firm and how we rolled out and trained our employees on AI, it really there was a cultural piece and then like an actual education piece. The actual education piece was easy. We gave everybody access. I say easy, but we gave everybody access. And then we basically held these sessions to teach them step by step last year of like how everything works and how to use it. And then we offered more advanced kind of like custom bot type lessons for people that wanted to go a few steps further, etc. But I'll say most important for us was the participation of our CEO in particular. And I mean, I'll go as far as to say is this is something that is the one thing that he is thinking of before he goes to sleep and when he wakes up in the morning. Like he is all over AI and how are we evolving our agency with AI. And just having his buy-in and his participation in this has been fundamental because everybody then wants to jump on it and get their client involved in this and, propose these solutions because, ultimately Michael is going to be really happy with that. Right. So I think that executive buy-in is huge, and really important for making things successful.
Okay, Tina. So you're nodding your head.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think executive buy-in is critical. I think having an executive that has a bold vision for what is possible. Uh, you know, this this technology and what it can do is moving very, very quickly. And so, if I look at it from the big company lens, what we are seeing is that those that adopt it at scale, drive real top line and bottom line value from it, that is becoming a real engine for competitive advantage. So then I kind of put my small business hat on and I say, well, again, like where is the opportunity where there is more scarcity of dollars because you're smaller to really outperform your competitors. But
Okay.
I think the key is to sort of push the envelope in terms of possibility because of the pace at which the technology is moving, and I think that that creates inherent opportunities.
Okay. So, the title of this webinar is Streamlining Operations and Boosting Revenue. I think we talked a lot about streamlining operations. Let's go to boosting revenue. So how can you use AI to boost revenue, for instance, like with your marketing and sales? Well, how else can you boost revenue using AI, especially if you're a small business? Christine, do you want to start with that?
Sure. Yeah. Well, I think if you're a small business, I mean, there are a lot of different ways that you can deploy AI in your marketing tools to make your ad campaigns more efficient. So that's the easiest answer, right? But the other piece is I think for a smaller organization, something you could do is ask the AI model. You can use a series of prompts to make a business case that'll help you to create a better revenue off whatever your initiative is. So you can start with saying, here's some information. I need a strategy to increase the return on investment in XYZ project. and then ask the AI, you could do it with Gemini or ChatGPT or whatever your favorite is, um, and say, what information would you need to make this, give me a successful answer? And it will give you a list of information that it would need. You can give it back that information. Again, watch your data privacy, right? But if you don't, if you have this, you can use broader conceptual ideas. Feed it back some more information and ask it again, what other information do you need to make this more, to give me a more successful response? And through a series of like that, you can get a really succinct business recommendation
Okay.
for whatever but you have to be specific.
Right. Melissa, boosting revenue?
Yep. Well, definitely. That those are what we use AI to for our programmatic advertising, targeting and things like that. We can generate keywords in seconds that would take us like at least an hour or two of research. So in tools like email marketing that's assisted by AI, that can help boost revenue as well. So getting more information out there that's targeted. I noticed Anthony DiStefano had a question about conversational AI or AI agent solutions. So we use AI chatbots on our website. We offer that tool for some of our customers. We even have one that was developed for the cannabis industry that my friend Meg Vidala has helped develop, where you can go to a dispensary website and have the products that are going to be suggested for you based on questions about the effects or what you're looking for. So I thought that was that's generated. We've seen where certain products have been suggested by the AI chatbot and how they've been purchased by the individuals that interacted with the chatbot. So that was pretty cool to see. And then we have an after hours number, and this is an AI chat. It's a voice receptionist. So based on questions that the individual would ask, they are, provided intelligent answers to their questions. And obviously, if it's something that they need to contact us with, we would be alerted, but usually our clients know how to reach us. So, but it's just some tools that we enjoy using. And I think the user has a good experience from it as well.
Does anyone on this discussion have a success story of within your organization or client, how you implemented AI and saw a measurable revenue or efficiency gain? Megan, anything with the client without giving up the name of the client?
Yeah, I'll say, my group manages pretty big media spends for a number of different clients. We have been able to leverage AI to better digest the different reporting across all different kinds of platforms and give us recommendations that have pointed us in the direction of better marketing. And that has resulted in very tangible sales lift for some of the media campaigns that we support. I'll also say that just from a creative standpoint, there are a ton of tools out there that are not very expensive that allow you to create personalized creative at scale that you can then plug into your marketing. And we all know as marketers, it's all about hitting the right person in the right place, right time, right? So these tools can very much help you. One tool in particular that we're starting to leverage across our creative team is called AdPiler. It allows you to create kind of display creative ads at scale and share them with your client. That's kind of an interesting one to look into. I'm happy to drop some of these into the chat too. But yeah, I would say, better, faster, stronger marketing results in more revenue. And the other way revenue can happen is from preventing churn. So this is where conversations about like customer service and supercharging customer service teams, et cetera, can make a tangible business impact as well. So broadly speaking, those are kind of the two areas I would say.
Okay. Tina, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so we are recognizing that IBM is a very large legacy company, and very different scale than those of you on the call. We have taken $3.5 billion of cost out, cost productivity savings that we have reinvested in R&D and revenue generating areas of our business. All of that is in our 10K. It's in the public domain. It's on our website. Our CEO talks about it often. And I do think from some of the advisory work that I've done with smaller organizations that there are things that one can extract from that and somewhat tailor to the size of your company. The other thing I will put in the chat is we have IBM has an AI Academy that it has put in the public domain. And it is these very small, 10 to 15 minute videos of our experts across different domains. So finance, HR, supply chain, data strategy, AI governance. And each one is 10 to 15 minutes long. So that's like a good crash course, if you will, on how to think of AI across any type of business.
Okay. We're actually running out of time. This conversation's moving pretty quickly. So let's talk about where are we going to be with all this in it's 5 years. I shouldn't even say that, but a year or 2 years with companies using AI. I mean, where are we going to be with the advancement of AI and how companies can use it, looking 2-3 years down the road? So anyone want to look into a crystal ball, or is it even hard to predict because things are moving so quickly? Melissa?
Definitely things are moving very quickly and very hard to predict. But I think that it's only going to get better for, individuals and businesses. But again, take it with, always be cautious. Everything is in beta. There's, every time there's an application or software, there's bugs, things need to be updated. So just be cognizant and, really, really review everything that you get back. So, be diligent, protect yourself, and have fun with it.
Tina, where's AI headed in the next 2 years?
Don't know. What I will say is, I have a pretty bold view of this in terms of really, if we think about it again, I'll think about it through the Fortune 500 lens. Like, think about a world in 2 to 3 years where AI is doing 85% of the jobs as they exist today. So, and that does not account for quantum, which is in very early stages of maturity. But that is going to take all of this to the next level in terms of acceleration. So I see this. One thing I do feel very confident about is that this is going to move at a velocity that is very unprecedented compared to technologies of the past.
Okay. Christine?
Tina's spot on with that. The pace is, I don't think that the human mind can fully understand how quickly things are going to evolve with and how quickly AI builds on itself and creates smarter models and can expand and do more things.
How long before we actually have an AI robot in our offices that we talk to, interact with, performing tasks? Could that be a possibility down the road?
I think we already have it. I think it's already
right
yeah.
now.
It's already here.
I mean, there was and not only already here, but I remember maybe 6 or 7 years ago, there were banks that were testing robots as tellers.
Okay. All right. Let's go to parting thoughts because we're at 9:55. Why don't we'll start with Melissa. Any parting thoughts on small businesses and how they can use AI?
I say, take advantage of the opportunity to use some of these tools that are going to help you get time back in your day. Be careful of what you put out. There's internal and external use of AI. So, what that AI sales rep or AI chatbot, they are the voice of your brand. So make sure that what is being put out there reflects what you want to be put out there.
All right, perfect. Megan, and is there anything we didn't cover that you feel that should be mentioned, Megan?
I think, my advice is to just use this technology as much as you humanly can. Join conversations like this one to learn other people's perspectives. And my last piece of advice is there's a lot of companies positioning themselves as AI companies out there offering solutions right now. Do not sign long-term deals with partners. I would highly advise you look at 3-month, 6-month engagements to test things, because the technology is evolving so fast that if you lock yourself into a 12 or 24-month deal with a partner, it's a pretty big risk financially. So look at small, short-term deals that you can test and learn over time.
Okay, Christine?
Yeah, I was going to say, on building on what Megan said, double check that indemnification clause also in your contract when you're signing with an AI, or especially if it's a new company.
And make sure they have insurance coverages.
Yeah.
Okay. And so we're certain some legal aspects are being mentioned here at the end. So should you be consulting with a lawyer when you're implementing all this AI stuff, or legal, or anyway, that could be a whole separate webinar.
Always think
Tina?
that's a good idea.
Parting thoughts, Tina.
I would just say, if you are working with third parties, push them to quantify the value. So the big lesson learned from the Fortune 500 is many of them have spent a lot of money on proofs of value, proofs of concept, what MVPs, whatever you want to call them. And what they end up with is a whole lot of technology debt, a whole lot of things that are these shiny objects that have generated no business value whatsoever. So push for quantitative value over time, because as a small business, you can't afford to do that the way a Fortune 500 company can.
All right, great. So that wraps up our webinar. And I want to thank Tina, Christine, Megan, Melissa for a very informative discussion. Your insights touched on a lot of important issues, and hopefully today's program helped our participants to better navigate these truly transformational times. So just a quick reminder that the Chamber, we have some major events coming up on October 22nd at Eisner-Amper. We have our Legislative and Business Awards reception on November 6th. We have at the Pines Manor in Edison, we have our Trailblazer Impact Honors reception. We have our holiday party on December 11th. And next year, we're already looking at 2026. We have our big Renew Jersey Business Summit and Expo, March 31st and April 1st at Harrah's Atlantic City. And all these programs, you can learn more about them at njchamber.com. So thanks again to NJM Insurance Group. Thanks again to all of our participants, and everybody have a great day.
Bye. Thank you.
Take care.
Great day.